Have you noticed how it's getting really hard to tell who is actually doing well? Like some people, they seem to have it all, the house, the holidays, the fancy cars, but behind the scenes, they're just one payslip away from panic. And then there are others, normal people, no big salaries, no drama, no show, and they're quietly getting rich. They're calm, they sleep well. And that's what I want to talk about today, how ordinary people are quietly getting rich in today's market, even when starting from zero. Not through luck, not through hustle, but through a few decisions that anyone can make. I'm Selena, a chartered accountant and a self-made investor. Over the last 25 years, I've helped hundreds of people reach financial security, not by chasing tactics, but by following simple, timeless principles that work only all the time. Today, I want to look at 3 things that they do differently. So number 1, they get obsessed with mastering money, not showing it. In my late 20s, I met a builder at a small networking event. He rocked up in this old, beaten up ute. At first glance, I just thought he was a regular tradie trying to drum up work. But half an hour later, over a beer, I realized he was a multi-millionaire. And he laughed when he saw the look on my face. He said, "You know what changed everything for me? The day I stopped trying to look rich." He told me that when he was younger, every spare dollar went into looking like he was doing well. Nights out with the lads, tools he didn't really need, new cars. He just wanted to be the big man around town. He wanted everyone to think he was killing it. But then one day he ran out of cash right before a big job came up that would have set him up for life. And he said in that moment it hit him. All the money he'd wasted on looking good, that was the price of his freedom. So he flipped everything. He stopped caring about what people thought. He started treating every dollar as a worker. And over time, those quiet, boring decisions made him incredibly rich, rich enough to buy whatever he wanted. He still drives that beaten up car because he's realized it's not what matters to him. What matters is that he can look after his family and the causes he cares about. That conversation stayed with me. And I later started calling that the success mirage, the myth that you have to look successful to be successful. Now, most people, they're chasing the appearance of wealth, and it is exhausting. They let money drift through their fingers and hope that something's left over. But the people who are on track to financial security tell their money where to go. Every dollar has a job. So it's not complicated. They use simple systems that run without willpower, a few accounts, a few rules. They separate essentials from not essentials. They automate transfers the day that pay hits their account. They want to cover bills and they want one to build wealth. And then whatever's left is spent guilt-free. Because if you don't have a system for your money, you are the system. And that's why you're tired. That builder taught me something huge. He taught me that the goal of money isn't the freedom to spend. The freedom of peace of mind is the real goal. Knowing that you're safe, that you'll be okay. That feeling is worth way more than anything you could ever buy. Number 2, they give their money time value. So I came across this idea years ago in a book called Your Money or Your Life, and it completely reframed how I thought about money. So what the authors do is they make a simple but life-changing point, that money is really just time in another form. Every dollar you earn represents a little piece of your life. The hours you traded, the energy you spent, the mornings you dragged yourself out of bed when you didn't feel like it, and every dollar you spend is a piece of that life energy that you will never get back. And when you start to see money that way, everything changes. Imagine you can earn $20 an hour after tax. That means when you spend $100 on dinner or clothes or whatever, you didn't just spend that money. You spent 5 hours of your life, 5 hours that you worked, sat in traffic for, maybe even stressed about. And once you start seeing it in those terms, you start asking yourself different questions. Like, is this purchase really worth 5 hours of my life? And that concept hit me really hard because when I looked back at how I was spending money at the time, I realized how unconscious most of it was. I was working long hours, saving when I could, but a lot of my income was disappearing into random shopping. New clothes, homewares, takeaway meals, the little things that didn't actually create lasting joy. So I did a quick audit and discovered I'd spent about $3,000 that previous year on buying stuff I barely remembered. And when I translated that into hours, it was about 3 full weeks of my life. 3 weeks that I had traded for things that didn't matter. And I thought, if I could get those 3 weeks back, what would I have wanted to spend that money on? And at the time, there were probably other things that mattered to me more, like flying home to see my family, or a holiday, or a memory, or something meaningful. And that realization changed everything. I didn't stop spending, I just started spending with intention. $100 on dinner with close friends might still be 5 hours of my life, but that was an exchange I was happy to make. But $100 on an outfit I'll only wear once? Maybe not. Some people think this way instinctively. They don't see price tags, they see time. They don't just ask, can I afford this? They actually say, is this worth part of my life? And here's the deeper layer. When you start valuing your time, you stop wasting it. You stop giving it away for things that don't move you forward. Like you start investing it in skills, relationships, and assets that compound. That's how calm wealth grows. So a super easy exercise for you to do is work out what your real hourly rate is after tax. So divide your take-home income by the hours you actually work and include commuting time or side work. For 1 week, translate everything that you've spent money on into hours of life and ask yourself, is that worth that many hours of my life? Number 3, they spend time around people who make wealth normal. Look, for the first 10 years of my investing journey, I was a bit of a lone wolf. I devoured every book, I went on every course, I invested heavily in education. But when it came to actually implementing, I tried to figure it out on my own. Part of it was pride, part of it was fear. But I just didn't want to look stupid or admit that I didn't have all the answers. And so honestly, I thought wealth was something you built solo, like a test you had to pass on your own merit. But over time, I realized how much that slowed me down. I wasn't short on knowledge, I was short on perspective. And there's only so far you can see when you're standing inside your own thinking. Everything changed when I started surrounding myself with people who were already living the kind of financial life that I wanted. People who were calm, deliberate, and experienced. No hype, no ego, no get-rich-quick talk. And I noticed something. I noticed their energy was steady. They weren't chasing status or comparing portfolios. They were focused on process and peace. And just by being around that, I got better. It shifted how I thought, how I decided, even how I measured success. You start to absorb what feels normal. And if everyone in your circle measures success by cars and holidays, houses, you will spend to keep up. But if your circle measures success by buffers, freedom, and time, you'll build that instead. So you don't have to replace your friends, but just add rooms. Join one group that talks about money really calmly. Find one mentor who's walked the path that you want to walk and ask them, if you were starting again, what would you do first? That's one conversation that can save you years of trial and error. And even online, clean up your feed. Mute the noise that makes you feel behind. Follow voices that normalize calm, methodical wealth. If a money idea sounds like a firework, just let it pass. And if it sounds boring, repeatable, and slightly underwhelming, that's usually the one that works. The people quietly getting rich today have made peace with one simple truth. Wealth isn't just about winning. It's about feeling safe enough to stop running. They get obsessed with mastering money, not showing it. They give their money time value, and they spend time around people who make wealth normal. They've stopped performing success and they've started designing freedom. They're not trying to look rich, they're trying never to feel money worry again. And that's what real wealth feels like. So if you want to keep building that calm confidence with money, I share weekly stories and simple frameworks in my free newsletter. It's where I go deeper into what's actually working for normal people who are quietly wanting to get ahead. So if you're interested in joining, please use the link below and I'll see you next time.